meeting is being recorded.
It's very official.
I
think I've overcome our technical difficulties, but we shall see.
Okay.
I will... Give me a second. Let's see how this rolls.
Okay. Because I was just going to explain it first. So do you want to try and see if it works?
Yes.
Okay.
I think I've got it on.
People normally laugh at me about how non-technical I am. So if
right, what can you see, Han?
Just everybody.
You can't see the song?
No.
Oh, golly gosh.
Should I try and just play it off? Is it on YouTube?
It's more that you have to share the computer song and the screen.
Oh.
If I do that and then do advanced. What does it share now?
Nothing, just everybody else.
Why? If I do that, can you see that? Has it changed at all?
I can't see anything else, but I can just see everyone. It doesn't look like you're sharing your screen.
Nothing is changing at all when I'm sharing?
No.
This is annoying because I am picking which one to share and then I'm doing advanced and doing that.
Oh, there we go.
You can see that. Yeah, I know, but I don't think if I press that, no, it's not playing the music, is it? Can you hear anything, Han?
No.
What if
Sorry, everyone. We'll work it out.
And now it's stopped sharing my screen, isn't it?
Yeah. Can you just play it without the screen?
Right. If I play the music, let's see if the music works.
Yes? Yeah, that's fine. Just do it like that. That's fine. So
that's going to cause chaos for my presentation, though. So, Joyce.
Sorry. Jonas and Mason. It is the Royal Family Kids Camp song, but there's a really funny bit in it where Brian and Misty changed it. So instead of going head into a Royal Family Kids Camp, it goes head into a Starfish Kids Camp. So you'll be like, oh, I know this. So first of all, everyone, have a little wiggle back from your screen so you've got room to move because you are going to be doing the dances. The reason why we do this is because at camp we look silly 90% of the time. So what we do in the training is we all get really comfortable. We're doing singing and dancing and looking silly in front of each other. So by the time, hello dog, by the time we get to camp, we are so we're not worried about what people are thinking about us, that we can completely focus on the children. So my dog's come to join in the dance. So first of all, everyone pretend you're driving the bus to camp. So you're driving the bus. There we go. So it starts off and it says head into it. So you drive the bus and then it says clap, clap. So everyone clap, 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 clap. And then it goes Starfish Kids Camp, heading for a lot of fun. And then you go, it's great. Just knowing I'm a part of God's family. And then like a big sun playing under the sun. And then we go swimming and we go splashing and we're having a good time. And guess who's there? There's Grandma and Grandpa. And because, sorry, Americans, because we've used a bit of American terminology, we talk a bit about PMA. That means positive mental attitude, by the way, in case you didn't know. And we're so excited, we go, woo! So I need you to all unmute and you're all going to woo. So we're going to go, Grandma, Grandpa, PMA's devotions, woo! I didn't hear you wooing. Come on now. Where's those woos? Grandma, Grandpa, PMA devotion, woo! Much better. Oh, my dog's scared. I don't know. He's like, what is she doing? And then there's a little bit in there where we talk about where it just sings, like it's an instrumental bit, and we high five. So it's going to be quite tricky to high five on Zoom. I mean, yeah, James and Ellen, you can high five each other. We'll just have to pretend. And then there's a bit where you double high five everybody as well. At camp, we go around the room, high fiving the kids, high fiving everybody. and it's lots of fun. So, are we ready, Sir? Let's have a go. You ready? Come on, everyone, you've got this. Let's get ready to drive the bus. Now we're going to go swimming. Grandma, Grandpa. High five. Well done. Good job. And we can go again. High five. I'm going to give you a double high five. Oh, come on, look at Christy's living her best life. And now we go again. High five! Yeah, good job, everybody. Nailed it. Chrissy was doing all these effects on her screen, and it was like you had fireworks behind you and everything. I was so impressed.
I don't know how that happened. I thought someone else was doing it.
How did that happen if you didn't do it?
I thought someone else was doing it.
I was well impressed by your dedication.
Yeah, me. Wow. Okay. So yeah, that's one of our many dances that we got to do at camp.
Well done, everyone. Your commitment was brilliant. And now somehow I got to follow that with some seriousness. So I got to ground myself after that bit of manicness. Bear with me. I'm just going to get my presentation up, and I've now discovered that some of my videos won't work, but we will roll with it.
While you did that, say what was funny is somebody was wooing after everyone else, so it was like grandma, grandpa, me, woo, and then someone would go woo. I loved it.
Bear with me. Is this where can everyone see my screen now?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
So obviously this section is simply just building awareness of the campers and just for you to understand, I guess, some of the needs and some of the experiences some of the children that come to camp will look like. And there's just a quote just right at the beginning. Sorry, I've got all your faces in my way of my presentation. Just saying it's impossible to have a look out for trouble and at the same time have a normal childhood. And I think that just really stands out when you think of what you would class to be a normal or healthy childhood. It's not necessarily constantly having to look out for danger or to consider your own safety. And I suppose it's just how do we then expect children to have to have a normal childhood while some of those experiences are going on in their lives, and that's the case for a lot of the children that will come to camp. So there's a few theories that we'll talk about today, and I'm not sure if some of you may be familiar with some of them. So the first one is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Can I just have a show of hands in terms of, I said a show of hands now and I've got rid of all your faces, for people who are sort of familiar with that theory, if anyone's heard of that? So yeah, in terms of Maslow, then he talks of each of us really having a hierarchy of needs, and you can see that displayed in the pyramid there. And basically, everything has to be built up from the foundation. So you need to have each level met before you can reach the top, really. So that's talking of the basics then is our physiological needs. So just the basics of we need air, we need water, we need food to keep us alive. And I suppose clothing to stay warm, being able to sleep each night, those basic needs. And therefore, if those basic needs are not met, we can't progress through the pyramid. Then we've got our safety needs. So they, as we're older, that can be, our employment, or our own health, or having a home, and resources, or just a child that just feels safe or has all of those things around them where they're feeling safe. Then we move up the pyramid into love and belonging, which brings stuff like friendship and intimacy, family, and sense of connection with other people. Then only when those things are in place can we move up the chain into having self-esteem, self-respect, recognition for our own success, strength or freedom. And then becoming right at the top of the pyramid then is when we would have a desire to be the best that we can be. And I think often we look at children and expect them to believe in themselves or to want to be the best, when actually maybe their safety needs are not being met, or they've not got people in their lives that give them that sense of belonging or connection or positive relationship, or even just the basics that they may, not having the right food or water. How do we expect children to be at the top of that pyramid when some of those needs are not being met? And that's the reality for a lot of the children that come to camp, is some of the needs at that lower level are just not there in their day-to-day life. And that's where we try to ensure that those things are in place at camp. We would never let a child worry about food or water, or there be a lack of that, or that safety, or that safe space that they have at camp, the bed that's all that is theirs that nobody can sit on, and just giving them those positive relationships where we can then start to build into their self-esteem and make them believe in themselves and want them to be the best that they can be. And then another theory, then we've got Erickson's theory, and he believed that major parts of our personality come about during our early childhood. If our needs are being met in a consistent way, then we will grow up with a sense of trust. But if needs are met but without love and consistency, then we're likely to have a mistrust in the relationships above us. So essentially, trust is a cornerstone of our healthy development. And as you can know, maybe some of those needs being met for some of our children are in that inconsistent way, or they may just not be there at all, and therefore we can see additional challenges rise. So the reality for these children is that they've lived in dangerous or threatening and neglectful circumstances, and that's a total contrast to what Erickson says we need. And I think this image really just jumps out to me, really, when we look at the brain of a 3-year-old and a child that's brought up in a healthy, normal, as it says there, or safe environment, and to a child that's been brought up in extreme neglect, and the differences in what that brain looks like in terms of its development. I just wondered whether anyone would sort of share, just from seeing that image, any of the thoughts that they've had, or what stands out to them from looking at that picture.
I mean, would it be that the brain of the child with extreme neglect is actually smaller? Because, like in the picture, it's considerably smaller, isn't it?
And I think that's just
and
natural. When you look at that image, and that is from scans of 2 children to compare. And as you can see, like even just physically, so much smaller. Differences in terms of the shape. There's a lot darker areas in the smaller brain that you can see. That's the lack of development or connections within the brain. And I think when I see that image, it always just really jumps out to me, I guess, because you could see 2 children physically in front of you and they would look the same. And therefore we would expect them to behave the same, reason the same, handle situations the same. But the reality is their brains are not physically the same, because they haven't had that opportunity to thrive in a healthy environment where their brains have built the connections and built the skills and physically grown to what we would of a child of the same age. And therefore how can we expect them to react in the same way, I guess. And I suppose that's an important thing for us to think about when the children come to camp, because all children, they just look like children, and I suppose we don't know what's inside. We don't know what experiences they've had, what challenges they've had, and therefore what ability they have to cope with the same sort of challenges as any other child. that's just something for us to just pause and reflect on, I guess. So even though the children may be chronologically between 6 and 11, occasionally 12, but often because of the experiences, they may not function at that chronological age, and we can see developmental differences and extremes in these children. So you might have a 7-year-old who might be developmentally delayed and have the function of a equivalent to a toddler. So they may have poor self-management skills. They may need more help than you would expect with dressing and grooming. Maybe very dependent or clingy and touch orientated, emotionally unstable and impulsive, or sometimes highly egocentric and unable to see the difference between their thoughts and their feelings from others. In the contrast, then, you might have an 11-year-old that might be an early maturer and has found resource because of the situations they've been in. They found the resources to thrive under those difficult conditions, and they then might be the other end of the scale, and they might be sort of overdeveloped and more equivalent of what you would consider a teenager to be. So they may be larger or taller or physically mature, maybe possibly sexually provocative or active. You'd be surprised how well children have developed skills to be able to reason with you and to think about problems and manipulate situations at a higher level than the expected age. They may be put off and have a perception that some of our activities are geared at a lower group. Sorry, my presentation will move on. There we go. So essentially what we're trying to say is we may have children that are developmentally delayed, others children are resilient and are progressing normally and even thriving. So essentially what we're trying to say is don't predict their behavior on their age. That could look really different. You could have a young child that's older than their years. You might have a child that's a little bit older and you think that they're acting way below their years, or equally they may act what you would expect within that age range. So what we're doing is encouraging you to just look at the child and meet the child where they're at, and understand that they may have different things going on for them, that therefore they may not behave in the way that you would expect them to. But what we do at camp emphasizes really creating that safe experience, safe environment, and positive affirmation just opens up their heart to trust. And I mentioned earlier in terms of like children who might be older than their years and therefore might think some of the activities are childish. So one thing I love about camp is because it takes, I don't know, some of the difficulties or the challenges or the stresses of their day-to-day life away. It actually just gives them the environment where they can just be a child. Each child gets a teddy bear at camp, and you think perhaps a 10 or 11-year-old boy wouldn't be particularly attached to that, but you see how those things are cherished, and how those kids hang on to those teddies, or just even that, though the activities that we do, well, that just allows them to just let go, and in a day-to-day life they would never be willing to act a fool, whereas they will see us as staff willing to not be embarrassed and get involved and jump down a slip and slide or climb a wall or dance around like idiots. It actually gives that child that free space then to be a child themselves. Sorry, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, there we go. It's can you hear me all right? Sorry.
Yes, fine, sir.
Oh, sorry. Everything's flicking in the background. It's changing. So this is the video. I know I'm not going to be able to show you, but just I'm sure everybody's really familiar with the terminology of fight, flight, and freeze, and that's just our built-in system that's there to protect us. And obviously, we can all in a traumatic circumstance be hit through, not or a scary situation, be put into that position where we go into what is typically either our fight, flight, or freeze response. But actually for some of these children, it might be that they're thrown into that fight, flight, or freeze in a situation that you wouldn't think is particularly dangerous or particularly scary, or would see that response, but these children are trained to look for difficulties, or look to not trust those around them, or look for the danger. And actually, you might see some of those responses coming out in children with what you see as being a particularly safe and healthy environment. So just to consider what some of those behaviours may look like. So yeah, so the amygdala, that's just a part of the brain, and I will talk about that more in further training. The part of the brain that just acts like a acts like a guard dog, really, and it just asks us constantly if we're safe. And I suppose each of us now are sat at our computers or at our screens and in a quite a relaxed environment, and so there's nothing necessarily triggering that response from us. But when you're at camp, you could be sitting on a field and there's all fun going on, and you'd feel particularly relaxed, but another child might be looking around and seeing hundreds of people around and being constantly looking for the danger or how to protect themselves. So those children who would be in flight, then you might see them withdrawing and fleeing from the classroom. They might run off from what the activity is. You might see them sort of daydreaming, as if they seem to sleep, and being quite avoidant of others, maybe hiding or wandering, or just generally becoming disengaged. Fight then, and we can see this often. It might be a child acting out, they behave being quite aggressive, maybe acting silly, particularly defiant or hyperactive, arguing with you, maybe screaming or yelling, and then freeze, and it's exhibiting numbness, maybe refusing to respond, and refusing to even get their basic needs met, giving you like sort of blank expression, or feeling unable to act or move. And I suppose it's just a consideration if any of the children are acting in this way. And it might seem irrational, or you might not seem to think, well, why all of a sudden are they acting silly or being particularly defiant? It's about stop and think, actually, is this something that's triggering their fight response? Is this something that's making them feel unsafe or uncertain right now? And how can you deal with that? Now, we have got a session in the later training that looks at some of the behaviour management, so don't panic right now. We will sort of cover those things, but this is just a session for you to stop and think about some of the challenges those children would be facing. And then we've got the hypervigilant child. Then I have got a video I want to show you, and it doesn't really matter that the sound isn't working, so just bear with me. I'm just gonna show you this short clip, and I want you to just have a think how you feel when you watch it. And now we've got a wonderful advert. Okay, can you see this busy road? Somebody give me a thumbs up if you can see it and I'm sharing it properly. Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Okay. Oh, sorry, bear with me. I've got some Sam Fender kicking off in the background now. Can you tell me how you felt just watching that clip? Or what did it make you think?
That's very
stressful. Sorry.
Quite stressful, yeah. Thank you, Rachel. Christy?
They look very complicated and dangerous.
Yeah. Anyone else? If you was that person trying to cross the road, would you be concentrating on much else than the traffic that was on that road? If I asked you to tell us a Bible story while you were crossing that road, do you think you could do it? No. And I think, oh, do you know what? Even when I've just watched it now, and I've seen that clip about 100 times, but it still fills me with anxiety. And I can't, even though I'm not the person crossing that road, I can't really think of anything else. And that's essentially a good way to show what it looks like inside the brain of a child that's hypervigilant. Is that child, even in a seemingly calm space or a safe space, is trained to look out for what difficult circumstances may be around them, what potentially could go wrong, where there may be a dispute happening somewhere around the corner, because they're good at predicting where things become physical, violent or difficult, and they're constantly looking for where the potential danger is. And that essentially just helps us to understand what that looks like for that child. So we might be asking them to sit down, listen to the story Hannah's telling, or to join us in with a Bible song, when actually that's what's going on inside their brain. They're looking around at all the people in the room and wondering, are they safe? Are they protected? Is there a meal coming? Will they have somewhere safe to sleep tonight? Will that be a day that's not filled with any aggression or difficulty? And I suppose that's just something for us to be considerable to consider. Sorry, I couldn't find the right words there. In terms of that's what can be going on inside a child, even when everything looks calm and fine. So let me just see if I can get my PowerPoint back up now. Okay, so resilience then. I'm not a fan of sharing on Zoom. Just going to chuck that out there for everyone to know. So resilience then, we talk, I'm sure it's a terminology that you're all familiar with. It's the ability to bounce back from any stress, challenge or tragedy or trauma that we might face. When children or indeed adults are resilient, we can be braver, more curious, more adaptable and able to extend to their own reach within the world. A child with secure attachments will feel more confident and able to explore and can better cope with any challenges that they face. But as I've already sort of gone into depth with, really it's important to recognise that our children will likely have difficulties with attachment and therefore resilience. So what can we do then in order to support campers with building resilience? It's really important, and I think one of the key things that we do is building positive relationships for that child to have one person that believes in them, and they don't just have one, they have 60, but particularly for those children with the bigs and the relationship they build with them. And it's about ensuring we all need, and I'm sure you can all reflect and think of knowing that there's that one person that's always believed in you, and having that is what empowers us to sort of move on. And this is our opportunity to give these kids that one person. It's an increased exposure for people that care about them. We foster an environment where it's okay to fail and to ask for help. And like Hannah sort of said, we give them loads of experiences that lots of them have never done before. Often we have a climbing wall, and that's massive to lots of children, or even like we have the animals that are there. And it might be holding a spider or holding a snake. It's okay not to be comfortable with that. It's okay to ask for help. And I suppose teaching the children the importance of that being fine, and equally showing how our humanity as well to them, that we mess up, we're adults and we haven't got it all together, and sometimes we need help, and showing that positive relationship of where we ask for help from other staff, or we might get things wrong, and how we react to that teaches them that it's okay for them to fail. And then obviously building feelings of competence and nurture their optimism, and knowing that, encouraging them that we believe in them, so they should believe in them. Empowering them to be proud of their own individuality. Like, we are all different, and each of these children that come to camp will be different, and that's okay. And encouraging them to just, love who they are and themselves. And again, like modeling resilience in ourselves, like I've already said. But also not always rushing to rescue, and just allow that safe space for risks to be taken or mistakes to be made, and that's okay. But it's just about being alongside them to help them to cope with that as well. we meet those children where they are, like I talked earlier, in terms of them being in a different place than maybe their chronological age. Get to know that child and what's normal and healthy for them, and what works for them. How can you help them best? Nurture a growth mindset in terms of, you went up to the middle of the wall first time. Do you reckon you could go up 2 more? I believe you can, and that sort of thing. Let them know that you trust their ability to cope and their capacity to cope. Some things are challenging, and actually you're willing to come alongside them and help them to find the ability to cope with the situation. He says, let them talk. And I think sometimes we can be guilty of trying to fill the silence. And actually it's okay to do that and just give them space to be and to let them talk. We make time for play and creativity. That's an amazing thing that we do at camp, and it gives them that space to be. And essentially what we trying to do, we are not, like Hannah's already said, in no way are we going to fix these children in a week, but actually we can see amazing and massive things happening. And as has already been said today, really, having 2 campers come back and serve a camp just only goes to show the difference the camp can make, and what a legacy that we managed to build. So yeah, the key to sort of building resilience is having role models that care for them and see the potential in seeing their potential more than we see their difficulties. And actually what we can do at camp, and when they keep returning to camp, is building more and more and more positive relationships. And even though those encounters with a caring person over a child's life, the more that they have, the greater chance that we've got to sort of tip the scales towards resilience. And then, yeah, like it says in the bold, it's not your role to fix or heal the children or the campers. But what is your role is to take on board and be mindful of the training that you've been provided, to just love these children unconditionally, to meet these children where they're at with no judgments or preconceived ideas, and to work hard to be a positive role model. And then we just leave the rest to God. And that is it. But we will, of course, do the 3 for 3. So 3 things, either something that you've learned or something that stood out to you. And as Hannah said, we will sit here in awkward silence until we've got it.
I was blown away by the size of the brain, the difference in the brains. That's like quite shocking. That.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to look into that and understand that a bit more, because it's like, oh my goodness.
There's so much to it, and it's really fascinating. Like Hannah alluded to the fact that I've adopted my children, and so obviously I've done a lot of sort of research and learning into that. But actually, when you, in the heat of the moment, and when you look at a child's face, you can quickly forget that actually I'm expecting you to be at a certain level, but the brain inside you looks different and is different and hasn't developed like lots of children would have been, and it's quick to forget. So it's good to be reminded of that sometimes. Thank you, Rach. Anyone else?
When you were talking about the child's chronological age, which I thought was really important, about just because a child is 6 doesn't mean you should expect them to act like a 6-year-old.
Yeah, absolutely. One more. We're going to let you enjoy your day.
I thought the road was a really good visualization of kind of how the child brain could be, because I find it really stressful crossing the road, even with a crossing light, because there's like periods of traffic where there is a gap, but you don't know that you can make it. But seeing where people have no gap, but they still have to make it across, kind of trying to do anything else but focus on that would be impossible for me. So
Yeah.
it's always really good visualization to
Mm.
demonstrate that.
Amazing. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, it fills me with anxiety every time I watch it. No, that's amazing. Oh, well, thank you very much, everyone. We do really appreciate your time, and we really looking forward, for those of you that can make it, of course, to be in person in both May and June, and obviously at camp. I just want to open the floor, really, if anyone's got any particular questions they want to ask before we leave. If you haven't, we will let you crack on with your day.
Could I stay and ask a question, but it doesn't apply to anyone else? So
Yeah, of course you can.
Yeah. Is everyone comfortable for me to do a photo of the screen with you all in, so I can share with our lovely team that are eagerly awaiting you to come and join us? Is that okay? Yeah. Okay. See, I gave you a warning. I did suggest. Right, everyone, ready? There you go. Brilliant.
That's fine. If the rest of you have any questions, feel free to crack on, and I'll be in touch soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Take care, everyone.
Let me
Bye.
just figure out how to knock the recording off.